Hey guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start filming. I'm sorry if there's mowing outside. I don't know. It's like every time I actually set this up to film, someone's gotta mow. So I want to go ahead and just disclaim this video because I know some of you guys are new on the channel. These type of videos, they're about my personal experience and they're also about certain hormonal theories that I have. They're exploratory in nature. They're subject to change. This is where I talk about what is happening right now, which we don't always have all the perspective of the future, right? But I am documenting my entire journey because I plan on working with somebody to write a book about it once it has concluded. So, with all that disclaimer said, if this is something you're not interested in, then you may want to click off of this video and I'll get back to other content that's more normal. I do these very sporadically. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about what's happening to me now. So I think the last one I did, let me just check. The last time I updated you guys, I believe it had to do with visibility. Like I was talking about when I was in LA. Yeah. So I was talking about that moment. When I got back, I don't know if it was just a combination of a lot of different factors, but I had this super deep chocolate cake, Pamela's, when I was at Eric's place. And his place was kind of like a hot house. It was very hot because in California you don't have air conditioning. So it was hot. And I got a lot of seafood while I was there. And I think just the combination of all the iodine, that cake, which that cake is like one for the history books, I accidentally put too much coconut oil in it. So it was extremely thyroid stimulating. Like the whole trip, I was like extremely stimulated, basically. And I felt some hormonal shifts happening when I was there. I don't know if it was also just the seasonality or whatever. I don't really know anymore. It's confusing. Because it's not, like, the seasonal pull is not as strong as it was a year ago. Like, it used to be really, really, really strong. Now, it's very hard to tell if something is seasonal or if it's just something happening independently. But basically, what happened is I got back from LA and my appetite went way down. So oftentimes when I talk about metabolism being faster, what I mean is you're less hungry. Your appetite goes down and you're less hungry and less tired. That's essentially what a faster metabolism is. So I got back, my appetite absolutely cratered. And I was experiencing some burn-off symptoms, like some of which I have not experienced since I was keto, which that's a long time ago. I was keto in like 2019 and 2020 and 2018. And some of the effects I would have from that had to do with rapid weight loss. So when I'm losing a drastic amount of weight very quickly, estrogen goes up, you start to feel itchy, right? You start to have some symptoms that have to do with it. And I was in one hell of a deficit when I was keto. Like I said, I wasn't doing it in a healthy way. It was a little too much. Like I would be in I don't even know how many calories. I think it was a lot. Like a drastic deficit when I was keto, because I would lose a lot of weight really, really fast, which I don't agree with anymore for a lot of different reasons. And as you guys know, I'm not even keto or anything anymore. But basically, I got back, my appetite went way down, and I was experiencing a lot of high estrogen symptoms. So things like acidity in my teeth, so like kind of tooth pain, a little bit of tooth pain, that kind of stuff, like feeling like I'm losing bone easily. And my hair is falling out. So I noticed that and I was itchy all over. I was very irritable throughout August, a lot of it. I could hold it back though, like I have a bit more control over it because it's not so insane like it was last year. But it was like all those symptoms that I know all too well, they're more common in weight loss. A lot of people experience high estrogen or those feelings of high estrogen. And so I came back and I cut sugar, basically. I was like, I'm not going to have it anymore. I think it's too much. for my teeth. Like, I was starting to get worried about my teeth because I've noticed at certain points when my estrogen is really high, my teeth are not as strong. And so I have to, like, cut out the sugar, basically. So I cut it out, and I was like, oh gosh, because back in January when I cut out sugar, I experienced really, really bad hypoventilation. Like, extremely bad, to where I'd have to have starch. Like, I'd have to have potatoes or crackers. Like, there's a certain brand of crackers that I have made out of tapioca flour. Like, I'd have to have some kind of starch to keep my hypoventilation from being too horrible, because it would get so bad in the winter. And then I got sick and everything when I cut sugar in the winter. Like, I got really sick in February. I've been sick a lot this year. So it's pretty harsh for me when I cut sugar. It's kind of like, it's kind of like your hypothyroidism just takes a shit, basically. It just gets drastically worse really fast. And I do think that that's in part because I think you lose more weight without sugar. I do agree with people. And again, when you're dealing with balancing thyroid hormone with weight loss, sometimes sugar can be a useful tool to slow it down a bit or to give you more energy. It's a stimulant, it's stimulating. But again, it was overly stimulating. And whenever I get to that point where sugar becomes overly stimulating, I tend to cut it. And that's why I don't believe it's addictive, because it's very easy for me to stop. Like, I just got home, stopped. It's been 3 weeks. Didn't really have withdrawal, nothing. It's not an addiction. So I don't agree with you. I don't agree with people that say it's addictive. I don't think it is at all. I feel like when people say sugar's addictive, I think they're hypothyroid and they're just like dying with no energy a lot of the time. Or they have other hormonal issues. It's like a hormonal problem. It's less about the actual substance, because I was also craving a lot more nutrition. I've still been in my protein era. I've been really craving protein a lot, and gelatin still. Like, I noticed gelatin really, really helps me. So when you have to make adjustments to a diet, you just make them, period. I make decisions based on physical health at this point, and it was like, yeah, I need to cut out sugar and just have more meat or more protein, more fat, right? Just other types of nutrients, because it just wasn't it anymore, for now anyways. So basically, I did all that 3 weeks ago, and I've been fine. I did notice, though, when I cut the sugar, my weight loss, or like my burn off, got a lot worse. And I started to have like higher serotonin, which that happens, and like a lot of fat burning. And with that, there were certain symptoms that came from it, because there's a lot of mental health symptoms when you have really high serotonin from weight loss, which I do think people on Ozempic need to be aware of that. I think that's why some people feel like crazy when they're on it. I think their serotonin's going really high because they're probably burning a lot of fat. So I think that only happens when you're really, really burning a lot, like when it's really drastic. But basically, I do think I'm losing fat, gaining muscle, that kind of thing. It's more of a body comp era, for sure. My body looks different. But other than that, I think that there's a lot of hormonal fluctuation going on, too. I am currently transitioning to just obese. I did make a post about that, and I think when your body approaches a different health category, those health categories are based on scientific evidence. They are real, especially within obesity, because I noticed that there's usually a transition period between the categories. And when I went from super morbidly obese to morbidly obese, it was a shift. It took about 2 to 3 months, and I think it's happening now, where I'm transitioning, where it's probably going to take 2 to 3 months to transition to an obese level. But part of that transition is serotonin going up and my appetite going way down, and being extremely strict on the diet, very active. I'm restless, which I have been very restless throughout morbid obesity. I would describe that as one of my biggest symptoms of this phase. just constantly needing to move, not being able to relax, constantly wanting to work, constantly wanting to walk, constantly wanting to be productive, constantly wanting to do things, go, 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 because it's difficult for me to be still. It's uncomfortable for me to just sit now. And lately, I've been waking up from serotonin nightmares every day. So I have these weird nightmares. Lately, they've been nightmares about arguing with my mom, which is kind of funny. So what I describe as a serotonin nightmare is it's usually something extremely random and weird that doesn't make any sense, and it just scares you just to scare you. It's like bizarre. My nightmares used to be a lot darker and weirder and worse. Like, I've had nightmares about being tortured and, like, being stalked and, like, somebody trying to kill me and, like, things like that. But lately they've been, like, really, like, gay nightmares. I don't know how else to describe it, but, like, it's just, like, I had a nightmare that I was arguing with my mom. Or no, a nightmare that my mom was nagging me about something. And then I was like, oh my gosh, da, 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 da. And then I went to go to the bathroom, and there was, like, another one of my mom in the bathroom. And then it was like, my brain was just like, oh my gosh, that's so scary. And I was like, it isn't scary though. And then I woke up. So it's kind of like my body is just like, I felt like it was just feeling raw and weird and, like, fearful. I always describe the feeling of serotonin being really high as, like, fearful. Even though there's, like, nothing to be afraid of and I'm not scared. So that was, like, something that happened, like, I think yesterday. And I was just like, okay, that was really gay. Like, I don't even know what the hell that is. But it's, like, all the time, because I do have restlessness at night sometimes. It's not as bad as it was earlier in the year. It was a lot worse. But I don't have the hypoventilation as bad. So I don't need starch and I don't need sugar, which that means that objectively my hypothyroidism is better now, because those are kind of like crutches that a thyroid needs for stimulation, and I don't need a stimulant. So it means that I have energy to work with, which is good. So I do think it's helping my teeth to not be eating that sugar, because my teeth are weak, as I said. I've been, like, obsessed with brushing and that kind of stuff. I've been really, really on top of it, because I just feel like they're really raw, or, like, they're really able to be harmed easily. Like, I think I'm losing probably bone. My hair is falling out. So I do want to talk about that too. I don't know how far that's going to go, but you guys would be shocked, or not shocked, but the two biggest hate comments I get that are about me personally are about my voice, which that's just kind of obvious and I don't really care. At this point, it's so old, I can't even, and my hair. So I had somebody, like, really try to trip out and be like, oh my gosh, that hairline and blah, 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 and, like, really get extra about it. And I'm just like, okay, I don't understand. I can't even say that person was Gen Z, because they're 30. So it's, like, really pathetic, honestly. Like, their account had 1994 in the name, and I'm just like, oh my god, you're such a freaking loser. But basically, yeah, like, I've noticed my hair is falling out, like, really, really easily, and I did not want this to happen whatsoever. So it makes sense, because I've been in deficit for so long, and the last time my hair fell out like this, it was when I was keto. So I've been in a deficit since, like, January, off and on, but mostly on. And I think it's just gone on for such a long time. And in the beginning, in the middle of the year, like late spring, summer, I had to rely more on sugar, which is not as nutrient dense, because I needed that stimulation to stay within the deficit, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think maybe there was a bit of a hit in the protein macros and that kind of stuff. And so I think I'm losing my hair. My hair is just shedding and shedding. And I don't know if it's going to get better soon. I think it will probably last a while. So I'm a little nervous, because that's going to be kind of embarrassing. But I do think that hair loss and weight loss is kind of common. It's also common with hormone changes, which I know my body's going through like some kind of massive transformation. Like I have breakouts on my body. I have like a boil. I have a lot of stuff going on. Itchiness in the skin, the hair falling out, my teeth feeling raw. Like, I just think I'm really in an insane, like, intense burning phase, which I think it will be more obvious. If it doesn't slow down, it'll probably show up to you guys really soon, like probably in a couple months. I'll probably start looking really different faster. Because I've been kind of plateaued a lot this year. I haven't been losing as drastically. I've still lost like 40 pounds, 30 pounds. So I think that's pretty good, but it's starting to happen faster. And that's why I always say, like, fat acceptance people, when they talk about, like, oh gosh, like, your metabolism slows down as you lose weight and blah, 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 it's like, that's not true. It's totally false. You just have to stay down long enough, and a lot of people don't. They just go down and then they just start gaining again, over and over again. I didn't do that. I just stayed the same, and then the hormones shift. And like I said, I think this one from morbid obesity to just obese, it's like a major shift, because if it's causing me to have like hair loss and that kind of stuff and all these nightmares and all this weird stuff going on, there's something major going on. So I do want to talk to you about some of my high serotonin symptoms that are more mental. So a couple weeks ago, I had a really bad body dysmorphic episode where I was staring in the mirror and I was like really freaking out about my body. And it was kind of brought on by, like, I was thinking of my crush and I was looking at myself in the mirror naked before I was going to take a shower, and I was just like, he's never going to like this. No one's ever going to like this. Blah, blah, like really bad. And I was just like, yeah, this is horrible, and da, da, da. And I was just looking at everything, and I kind of went down a little bit of a spiral, and I was like, ooh, I'm like, this is another, like, ED trigger that I'm going through right now. Because it was just like, I felt like I hadn't lost any weight at all, which is so objectively untrue. But a lot of people have talked about that feeling, and I never really understood it until that moment. And I was like, wow. Because the body perception is so off sometimes. And it got really negative. Like, I started going from, like, body hatred to self-hatred. And then I just started hating everything about myself. Like, it was a really bad night. And to me, I feel like that type of thought process, it can have to do with the higher serotonin in, like, a faster fat burning, which I think that's more typical in super morbid obesity rather than morbid. I think for me, though, things are speeding up, so that's why. Especially since dropping the sugar, I do think it speeds it up. So when people say you'll lose faster without sugar, I do think there's some truth to that, probably due to, like, insulin and stuff like that, because it's something that I'm experiencing for sure. But yeah, so take that for what it is. Basically, it's complicated. It's a complicated thing. So I think a lot of the stuff I'm going through now, which I still have a lot of hypo symptoms and, like, the restlessness and the serotonin sometimes, or estrogen, I don't really know which one it is. They're both high, but I get sensitive in my skin, and I just feel like, like kind of raw sometimes, and then I can get kind of itchy sometimes, but it hasn't affected me as much mentally. I really just want to keep a grip on my mental, like, how I interact with you guys and stuff. I'm trying not to be as reactive, because I don't want to be reactive in general. I just don't think it's a good move, really. I think it's, like, unproductive. So it's like, I feel it sometimes, but then I don't, so I haven't been fighting as much, because I don't really want to, because I just think it's a waste of energy. So I'm trying to just, like, prioritize what I need to do and be, like, more professional in a sense. But it's tough. It's tough when you have all this physical stuff going on in the background. And, I have a tendency towards obsession and towards certain things like that, where I get, I'm starting to get really obsessed with Taylor Swift again, right? It's like all these kinds of things. I just feel like I am a little bit edgy. And I need to be careful that my spirals or my obsessions or these things, they remain on something harmless like Taylor Swift, you know, and not on something like the mirror or my body or something which is not harmless, right? So it's difficult. I'm probably going to be watching a lot of horror movies. That will help. I mean, we're in spooky season, so that kind of stuff helps because it helps to distract and it helps me channel my anxiety into something. I've talked about that a lot. I'm going to be leaning on that for sure. And then other than that, I just stay really busy. I try to talk to friends. I try to do things. I try to work. I try to, do all this stuff all the time. And then I'm just trying to prioritize, love over hate, prioritize people who are saying good things over people who are saying bad things, and just trying to be gracious and open and as extroverted as I possibly can during this time because I think it's just the right path. So it's difficult. But I think staying busy is probably what I need to do, basically. And I still have some of those like financial problems and things like that, but I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a grip because I'm so busy a lot of the time. So, yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much everything. I would consider a lot of this stuff to be related to the end of morbid obesity, related to like the last legacies, the last throes of my ED in my brain, the last lash outs. I feel like my ED is like a toxic ex that I'm just trying to forget or trying to get over, and it wants me back. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. And I've had so many different triggers all summer, so I'm hoping that when we get towards autumn, it will kind of shift and be a little bit better. I think when I get out of morbid, it will get better. Like my main goal is to just get out of morbid obesity, stay out of it throughout the entire winter so I can kind of recalibrate and reset my hormones and stuff, and then go into 2025 really strong and hopefully be done with obesity by the summer. That would be great. So I'm going to try really hard. That's my goals. As far as the gym, I just go and lift and I try to maintain, and I do go up every once in a while, but I'm really just maintaining that activity, and I do full body twice a week. So I'm doing like an average training schedule. It's not advanced, it's not beginner, it's average. So I'm doing pretty good, honestly. I would say to end it, I'm doing pretty well. I think especially not needing sugar or starch, that's a really good sign that I'm healthier, because that's like challenging for the thyroid, and I'm doing fine. And then I'm excited for the next phase of weight loss and hopefully maintaining over the winter, especially over December. It's a little bit treacherous, but I'm going to try to keep losing throughout October for sure. Hopefully at least maintain in November. If I gain a little bit in December, that's okay. And then go back into January strong. And luckily we're going into hot weather. So if my hair is all gone, you guys hopefully won't see it. Okay, and hopefully it'll start growing back in the spring. That's my little moment. But I'll let you guys know. I'll keep you posted. But yeah, I'm currently shedding a lot of hair. So I guess the hate comments can keep on rolling in. But I will talk to you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.